to kill his wife. The man dripped poison into the wine, then casually handed it to his wife, watching nervously as she drank it all. Only then did his tense nerves relax. It was poison he developed himself, not only colorless and tasteless, but also after 8 hours of ingestion. The heart would be paralyzed and stop beating, and it would leave no trace in the body. The symptoms were the same as a heart attack. Sure enough, after 8 hours, his wife died on the plane. After that, Park Jin-han tried to act heartbroken, but when everyone left at night, he rushed to another apartment and secretly met a girl. That was why he poisoned his wife. Turns out his wife was more than 10 years older than him. Even his title as president of a pharmaceutical company was given by his wealthy wife's family, but his wife was extremely domineering. It would only raise more suspicion. Before leaving, he slipped a few pills into his pocket. At the morgue, his panic was visible to the naked eye. Fortunately to others, it looked like worry for his wife. Then he learned. Half an hour ago, security at the morgue called in, reporting that a corpse had gone missing. Before it happened, he was on shift alone. Suddenly the whole building lost power. Right after that, he heard noises from the morgue. He followed the sound to check, and found one of the storage drawers open. The body inside was gone. As he searched around, a dark figure flashed behind him. Chief Ou asked if the couple had any enemies that could want revenge. After all, they were part of a famous conglomerate, and none of the other bodies were touched. Clearly someone was targeting his wife, but Park Jin-han said they had no grudges with anyone. Just then the coroner arrived. She directly asked if Seol he had any mental illness. Park Jin-han said no, but he didn't understand how that related to the missing body.
그게 왜 중요한 겁니까?
제외시키고 싶은 이론이긴 한데 혹시 카탈랩시라고 들어보셨어요?
그러니까 서리가 죽지 않았다는 거예요?
Turns out there were cases of rigid states being mistaken for death, but OU dismissed it as nonsense. Even if she did wake up, why would Seol he attack the guard? And why leave secretly? The morgue drawer behind him opened on its own. Inside was a metal box. Park Jin-han rushed to check. Inside were his wife's belongings. Then something in the corner scared him badly. Strange things began to happen. The morgue drawer behind him opened on its own. Inside was a metal box. Park Jin-han rushed to check. Inside were his wife's belongings. Then something in the corner scared him badly. It was the medicine bottle he had used to poison his wife, but he had destroyed it himself, and no one else knew where the others were kept. Before he could think more, the light suddenly came back on. He quickly stuffed the bottle in his pocket, but OU walked in and noticed his odd behavior. On it was an invitation card. Park Jin-han's scalp tingled. It was the same invitation he had received before. That day he had promised to have dinner with his wife, but secretly went to meet Hae-jin. When he returned home, that invitation was on the table, and his wife started asking where he had gone. He made up a few excuses. His wife said nothing, but immediately halted his research project. Her expression became unreadable.
자긴 날 떠날 수 없다는 거 알지? 근데 정말 당신 갖기 힘들다.
He didn't think much then, but now it seemed maybe she already knew something. This invitation now looked like a threat or warning. Park Jin-han trembled uncontrollably. He quickly told Hae-jin someone must know about them. But before they could discuss further, a policeman entered. OU showed him the only working camera. Hearing this, Park Jin-han froze. Could his wife really be alive? But before he could think further, the elevator malfunctioned. It was caused by a fire somewhere in the building. The fire alarm went off. They had to evacuate. Park Jin-han stayed at the back and slipped into a room unnoticed. He quickly called Hae-jin. He wanted to confirm his suspicion.
아까 걸려온 전화 그 번호가 어떻게 되지?
공사였던 것 같아. 근데 그건 왜요?
그 번호 윤설이잖아요.
Both of them froze. Just then, a shadow appeared at the door. It was Seol Hee, but vanished in the blink of an eye. Park Jin-han now believed she was alive, that it was all her trap. The more he spoke, the more panicked he became. His wife must have known long ago. She drank the poisoned wine in front of him, then injected herself with the antidote. But just then his phone shut off. The sprinklers overhead stopped spraying, and OU came over. He rushed to chase, but the door was locked, and the figure was gone. The ringing came from a body bag. Inside was a phone. Strangely, it showed his wife was calling. His hand shook as he answered, but the line was cut immediately. He dialed back. No one answered again. Soon his superior arrived at the station. Park Jin-han thought he could leave, but things changed.
좀 상황이 안 좋아서 그렇게 하시죠. 협조 좀 해주세요.
They had just found new evidence when officers went to Seol Hee's office, though it was empty. On the floor was a package addressed to her. Inside were private investigator records on Park Jin-han. It detailed all his secret calls and every place he went, according to their prenuptial agreement. Though at one point he considered ending contact, but after learning she was pregnant, they made that decision. Now he suspected his wife was never dead, that everything was her revenge. This fit her style perfectly, but just then OU got a call. When he came back, he angrily told Park Jin-han to stop lying. Hae-jin Jin's home was empty, no sign of anyone living there. At school, no record of a student named Jin. Park Jin-han felt the world spin. He sought his wife everywhere around him, muttering it was all her plan. The car reached a mountain apartment, but it was empty. Park Jin-han hurried into the forest, because it was their secret place. But what he never expected was that instead of his wife, he met OU, and the story flipped completely. Everything Park Jin-han experienced that night was OU's doing. On the night of July 20th, 1997, OU's girlfriend and her sister were hit by a drunk Park Jin-han and his wife. The younger sister rolled down the hill. The girlfriend lay bleeding. At first Park Jin-han wanted to call the police, but his wife stopped him. She didn't want the family business ruined, so they buried the still-breathing woman. The younger sister down the hill survived by chance. They had been planning to marry, but he never found his girlfriend's body. Surrounded by police,
윤소리 씨 살해 혐의 그리고 그 시체 유기 자세한 건
his wife's corpse was in the pit nearby. OU had not meant to kill him. He had injected him with an antidote. Then from the spot Park Jin-han pointed to, he dug up his girlfriend's remains and put Yoon Seol-hee's body there. After all was ready, he notified the police. As much as he hated Park Jin-han, he did not let himself become a murderer.